touchdown. Purdy climbs the pocket and finds his go-to guy. Other way down the field, season on the line, 4th and 5. Jalen Hurts. Dallas Goedert crossing the field, gets the sticks. They'd face 4th later in this drive. Hurts again, 4th in the season this time, 4th and 11. Targeting Goedert in the seam into triple coverage. That one incomplete. And despite losing George Kittle in the midst of this game, being down their top 3 linebackers, not being able to get to the quarterback, 23-19, the San Francisco 49ers continue to play on, and we are guaranteed this: no repeat winner as the defending champions go down at home. Postgame is presented by Heinz. It has to be Heinz. Joe Musso, pleased to be alongside my guy, CBS lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones, the 2-time champ Bryant McFadden, and our future gold jacket Patrick Peterson. Fellas, I preface by saying you lose your spirit in George Kittle in the midst of this game. You're down your entire linebacking core. You're unable to get to the quarterback for the tail end of this season. Bryant McFadden, how are the San Francisco 49ers still playing football?
The same thing they did to win double-digit games. The same thing they did to be in a potential winner-takes-all in the AFC matchup last week is what they did tonight. The grit, the attitude, the preparation, the execution all played a major part in them doing the unthinkable, to say the least, when you talk about all the injuries they've been dealing with and going on the road and beating the Philadelphia Eagles in the midst of losing, to Joe's point, one of their key offensive contributors in George Kittle. And I've been saying this for months now. Outside of the 2 Super Bowl appearances by the San Francisco 49ers, this has been the best coach job by Kyle Shanahan, in my opinion. For him to still be in the playoffs, for them to make the playoffs, for them to be on the cusp of having the #1 seed, it's been phenomenal to watch what he's done. Not just Kyle, but his entire staff. Because for you to have a great coach, you got to have a great staff, because they follow suit to what the leader tells them to do. And that's what Kyle has done. So when I watched the game last night from the Chicago Bears and the Green Bay Packers, we all felt like that was one of the more demoralizing losses in how Green Bay lost. But this Philadelphia loss is right there, in my opinion, because they had no business losing this ball game at all. And we gave them grace the entire season because of the talent. When you talk about the inefficiencies on the offensive side, we all felt like, well, they can get it right. Right? And we even felt that way going into today's matchup. Well, they can get it right. Well, the offense can't get it right. They ran the ball better, but the passing game is still not there. And it's hard to explain why. If they didn't have any talent, that's the easy salute. That's the easy answer. They don't have talent.
Do you see this passing game for the Philadelphia Eagles? It was a limiting factor all season long. Basic in its nature. We heard a lot of guys after they played the Philadelphia Eagles say, it's right there in front of you.
Yeah, the passing scheme is very, very basic, but we also got to look at those drops that happened in this ball game. A.J. Brown with some big drops in that game. Devontae Smith with a huge drop in the 4th quarter to potentially, put them in position to probably win that ball game. But the offensive scheme has been struggling all year long. Wasn't able to run the football efficiently all year long. I believe not having the RPO and allowing Jalen Hurts to run the football really hurt his game this year, because as we saw last year with the RPO, what that does is it create holes, it create pockets within the defense and make those throws a little bit easier for them, and they just was not able to get on that same page.
A little bit more reluctant to get to that run, a little bit more skittish in those opportunities was Hurts this season. I want to get you back here on the 49ers, JJ, as we take a look at 53 versus 53. I don't think anyone would have argued that the San Francisco 49ers were carrying a better 53 into this football game, than the Philadelphia Eagles. Is there something Kyle Shanahan does to always maximize what that 53 is going to give you?
I mean, B-Mac made a great point about saying how outside of the Super Bowl runs, this is the best job that Kyle Shanahan has done. And I think that is what someone who knows how difficult it is to go through the postseason and make it to the Super Bowl would say. With all due respect to those who have done that, I think this is Kyle Shanahan's best coaching job, regardless of Super Bowls, because of what they have lost. And what we know is this has been under Kyle Shanahan with the Niners, it has been a feast or famine sort of regular season. They either win 12 or so games and are competing for the NFC West, or they're out in Mobile, Alabama, scouting the Senior Bowl, right?
Exactly.
And so that's what this season, frankly, should have been based off of nearly a decade's worth of evidence for the Niners. Remember, Brock Purdy went down for about a quarter of a season and they turned to Mac Jones. I tell you, they're going to turn to Mac Jones in one of the more competitive divisions in all of football for a quarter of the season, you say, they're probably not going to be sticking around very long, right? And I'm not even talking about losing Fred Warner, who is very clearly, I don't know that there's anyone who the gap between 1 and 2 is greater than Fred Warner and whoever number 2 is at his position right now. You continue on with Bosa, you continue on with Brandon Ayuk, who was supposed to come into this season and play at some point this season as a number 1 receiver, and he'll never play for the 49ers again. We can keep going on and on and on, but losing George Kittle tonight as well, all of these things to me signal that Kyle Shanahan is in complete control and seeing the field in a way that so many coaches aren't. That I think that he is sort of, it's almost like a Neo Matrix sort of thing where he just sees it. It also speaks to the 49ers front office because they are prepared for attrition. They unfortunately have to go into each season assuming that they are going to lose several of their all-world players, and how are we going to be able to win in January? They continue to figure it out.
It is a keen game sense that even the best in the world sometimes lack to call the play that he did to start the fourth quarter. It's one that we've seen similar before. Super Bowl 58, Juwan Jennings throws the touchdown pass. That one in a list of innumerable heartbreaks for the San Francisco 49ers. That was the spark plug that changed this game, Mac. What is it for a coach to say, hey, you know that one that we drilled? You know that walk through in the ballroom?
Yeah.
We're going to go to that one again.
That's what great coaches do in critical moments of a ball game, knowing when to go to that trick play, knowing the situation and that it says it fits us best to call it right now, and knowing that your players will execute in that fashion. And also, too, one thing I know about trick plays, and Pat, you know about this being a part of the NFL, when coaches call the play, it's not the play when they call it that set up that play. It's about the previous plays that led to that. Watching guys and seeing, are they disciplined in terms of their leverage? Are they disciplined in terms of having containment? Because if you watch that play with Juwan Jennings, they had to understand 2 things. Number 1, Juwan Jennings would be able to get outside in terms of containment. Number 2, they knew the safety would have bad eyes. That would lead to Christian McCaffrey having the steps above that said defender to be able to make that big-time throw. That's what I love about situational plays and trick plays, especially in moments like playoff moments, because when they are called, that is more more beautiful for me in terms of seeing the execution. It's about when it happens. Because for all of us as fans, we were like, wow, the setup, the lead up, and then making it happen, man. So that's to JJ's point about the job he's done this season. It just was the epitome of what he did tonight. It's been the entire thing, man. Kyle Shanahan has been outstanding.
It's also a coach looking his team in the eye there as you're going into what could be the fourth quarter and the end of your season, trailing and saying, I believe in you and I believe in this one. Let's go execute on it. You told me that DBs are taking the cheese. That's a hard one to play your keys on. What did you see in that moment of this game?
Yeah, that was a tough one. That was just a great play call at the moment, you know. And honestly, that is something that got Christian McCaffrey going as well. Because if you go back into the game, the Philadelphia Eagles had Christian McCaffrey in check for the most part, rushing the football. I believe up until that point, he maybe had 30-something yards. So after that touchdown catch from Juwan Jennings, that's when Christian McCaffrey started to wake up. He started to lean on that Philadelphia Eagles defense. But the play of the game, though, the drive of the game was the drive after that, when they was able to put together a 10-play drive, take 5 minutes off the clock, and put the pressure back on a struggling Philadelphia Eagles offense. So, again, this is a great job by Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah.
This team understand how to handle adversity. And when someone goes down like George Kittle did today, these guys don't blink.
And it feels like it was that ensuing drive that you bring up where Christian McCaffrey found his best football in this game. He had a little extra juice on that one.
Don't forget about DeMarcus Robinson. He had a heck of a day.
Early and throughout, all receivers.
He set the tone. When George Kittle went out, they needed someone to come through with big-time catches. I think he had over 100 yards receiving.
Yeah, 111.
111.
6 catches, 111, and a touchdown.
6 catches, 111, man. Like, you don't know who it's going to be because of all the injuries, but we know somebody. And even though Jennings didn't have the big game as a receiver, that throw was outstanding, man.
It's getting those types of contributions that makes the difference in these types of games. It's hard to boil down a season to a single word, but if I had a word come to mind for Philly's season, this title defense, friction certainly comes to mind between the head coach and his team, between players at times, between this team and the expectation from their fan base. It felt like a ton of friction. In past seasons, they succeeded in the face of that friction, sometimes because of it, sometimes in spite of it. This year, not so much. What was the difference?
I mean, the easy thing is to point to the offensive coordinator. And clearly, whether we should put everything at the doorstep of Kevin Patullo or not, that's clearly not fair, right? But this is a team that offensively did what they did last season, did what they did to a proud Kansas City Chiefs defense there in the Superdome. And so you do have to wonder when they did it with Kellen Moore, who's now the New Orleans Saints head coach, why isn't it working with Kevin Patullo? Because the talent is pretty much still there. Yeah, they were missing Lane Johnson tonight, and make no mistake, Lane Johnson is one of the best to ever do it at his position. But Saquon Barkley still rushed for 106 yards with his backup in there. You know, Jalen Hurts has to shoulder some of this blame. A.J. Brown has to shoulder some of this blame, not just tonight with his multiple drops, but also in this season. And I know, and we'll talk more about the Philadelphia Eagles, but they did not keep their issues in-house. Yeah. It spilled out for everyone to see. And there was a lot of dirty laundry that was out there. And just imagine of what we heard and what we saw this season. Imagine what we didn't hear and what we didn't see, if that's what came out onto Broad Street, if you will. So obviously another disappointing season. This kind of feels very similarly to a couple years ago when they petered out down the stretch, wound up losing to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But that felt inevitable, that loss in the playoffs. This one, after they rested starters, and that's going to be a big point. People are going to say, you shouldn't have rested them. Maybe you shouldn't have done that. The Eagles, I will just say this, they felt very comfortable and confident, not worrying about home field advantage and more so worrying about getting right for this game. Rest wasn't an issue in this game. Let's go ahead and kind of nip that in the bud. Yeah. I think it was dropping passes.
Yes.
We now know our divisional round. It will be the Rams taking a trip to Chicago on the lakefront, the Niners making a trip to Seattle for the third edition of that divisional matchup. Remember, it was Week 1, a Niners win. Week 18, a Niners loss. They will settle the score here as we saw Bears-Packers do a day ago. Well, the Bears are going to play host to the Rams, and some early look lines here. According to our friends at FanDuel, your home side in Chicago, catching 4.5. It'll be the Seattle